So we've had all kinds of information about the Switch 2 come out since I did a video, I believe at the end of last week. And much of the information is stuff that we've already heard before, but there is some new information that came out that I thought it would be worth looking at, and we'll kind of recap some of these other, I guess you would call it, leaks. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So last time we looked at any Switch 2 information was last week when we had this report from the Spanish website Vandal. This is that odd situation where apparently Nintendo brought the Switch 2 in a box and people could just feel inside the box at what the hardware was but couldn't actually lay eyes on it. Just a bit of a strange story there. But they reiterated things that we had already heard about how the screen would be larger and how it looked like the system wouldn't get released until the beginning of 2025. But there was some newer information in this report. One, that the new Joy-Cons would use basically magnetism to connect to the console. And I have to say I was a bit skeptical at this at first, but I have seen some reports about how you can just sort of pulse a material and it keep the magnetism and you don't have to have a constant charge on it. My fear is if it's using electromagnets that it basically would drain the batteries, but it seems like this could activate the magnetism and then deactivate it. But we'll just have to see if that's the case. And there are also reports that the current Pro Controller would work on the new system, which is good if you're like me and you've got like 7 of these. And there was some additional information that I've seen before about the system using an NVIDIA chip that's kind of, I guess, on par with an RTX 30 series graphics, and how the system would use DLSS texture rescaling and smoothing. So now that we're all caught up with this story, there was another one that came out that apparently was posted before this story on Vandal, but no one really noticed it until like the day after. And this originated over on a post at Facebook by a peripheral manufacturer, MobaPad. Now, I'll be honest, I've never heard of them and I've never bought any of their equipment, but they seem to sell basically third-party Joy-Cons. Now, the post did get edited and all of the information about the Switch 2 was removed, but as you and I both know, the internet is forever. And the website WCCF Tech has a backup of it. Now I'm not going to read through this entire post because over on the MobaPad website, they basically reposted the whole thing in a blog form. And that's what I want to look through here. And at the top of the blog, they say, "We, like everyone else, are eagerly anticipating accurate information about Switch 2. In the process of developing the next generation console controller, MobaPad has also acquired a lot of first-hand information about the Switch 2, and now we are here to share it with everyone." So they're not saying we're just gathered things from around the internet and posting it. They do say here that they have first-hand information. So what does this information tell us? Well, let's look through the bullet points here. And we'll start here with the first bullet point. The Switch 2 will continue to support existing Joy-Cons and the Pro Controller, still equipped with ALPS dual-axle linear motors for HD Rumble. So I believe what they're saying here is that the Joy-Cons will work with the Switch 2, but I have a feeling you're not going to be able to connect it, and they'll get to that in just a minute. And then bullet point 2, I think, is something a lot of us were wanting to hear something about. The cartridge slot of the Switch 2 will support backward compatibility with physical Switch game cartridges, ensuring compatibility with players' existing game libraries, including digital versions. However, the second generation cartridges may not be compatible with the first generation console. So what I'm seeing here is something like how when Nintendo went from the DS to the 3DS, they put like a little notch on the cart so you couldn't physically put the 3DS cartridge into a DS. And I could see Nintendo doing something like this with the Switch 2. It's fairly simple and effective, but we don't know what that actual physical compatibility will be. It could even just be like a notch that slides up through the cartridge as you try to insert it, and maybe the Switch 2 has a little pin that slides up and down it. I mean, who knows? And then the third bullet point here is what we had seen in that Vandal article. The new version of Joy-Con has a larger volume, and the sliding rail structure has been changed to magnetic suction. Okay, that's not how magnetism works, but you kind of get the idea. The SL and SR buttons are metal buttons. That seems a little bit weird. Magnetic suction is achieved through electromagnetic suction technology. Okay, this is getting a little weird. Controlled by electric current. It's worth noting that in addition to the L, ZL, R, and ZR buttons on the side of the Joy controller, a third button has been added on both the left and right sides. Okay, so aside from the term magnetic suction, which would make both my high school and college physics teachers cringe, this basically sounds like that electromagnet system that maybe just pulses and turns the magnetism on and off, but doesn't have to keep any electricity applied. And I think it's a bit weird that they say that SL and SR buttons are metal. I'm not sure what the reasoning would be for that. It seems like that would just be an additional expense that doesn't really give you much. But if there's some type of haptic feedback on those, kind of like the DualSense controller has, I could see metal being beneficial. It would be a lot sturdier and less likely to break. Although I've not really heard of anybody having any kinds of problems with the DualSense triggers breaking. Let me know in the comments if you've heard of anything. And then the information about a third button has been added on both the left and right sides. I'm not sure what to make of that, unless maybe that's some type of extra trigger button. It doesn't seem like to me like that would be a button that you would hit to release the Joy-Con's magnetism. If it's on the sides, it seems like you might hit that too easily. And then we have another line here that's not under a bullet point, but pretty much is a bullet by itself. It says, additionally, below the home button on the right Joy-Con, there is an additional function button. Now, I have lots of speculation in my head about what this could be. Anything from maybe like a Go Live button if Nintendo wants to support streaming from the system. Not really something that Nintendo does, but hey, maybe it could be. Or hey, maybe it could be like the Wii U pad and it's a TV button and you can watch TV on your Switch 2. Now, I don't think they'll bring that feature back, but who knows. And bullet point 4 here says the bottom of the Switch 2 will still feature a USB-C port for docking, and the new generation dock will undergo minor changes in appearance while enhancing performance, supporting 4K resolution. And I was thinking about this, and I'm not sure if they're indicating here that it'll have 4K gaming. I do have to wonder if the Switch 2 will have some type of multimedia capabilities. Maybe you hit that new button below home and you send it into some type of media streaming interface. Nintendo did file a patent for something like that, I believe last year. So this may just be 4K resolution for some type of media playback. But who knows, they could surprise us all and have native 4K gaming at, who knows, 15 frames per second. And then on to point 5, the new dock will feature a dampening bracket on the back, allowing for a greater range of adjustable angles. Now, I wasn't sure how to take this until I started thinking about a patent that we've seen in, I think, the last 3 or 4 weeks. And it's here where you can turn the ports on the dock around so that you can adjust which way you have the dock facing. So I have to wonder if this is referring to this patent here. And then the final bullet point here, the screen will be upgraded to an 8-inch display supporting 1080p resolution. And this we've already heard from multiple sources that the new system would have an 8-inch screen, be 1080p. But still, we don't have any hard information as to whether the screen will be OLED or LCD. I keep thinking that Nintendo will release just an LCD version and then they'll turn around a couple of years and give you an OLED version. That's definitely a lot of information here about Nintendo's next hardware, but today we had a bit of information about what games may be coming to this next system. Now, this is coming to us from a leaker, Midori, and I'm not sure if it's he or she. I've heard a lot of people say she, so I'm just going to use that. But Midori is somebody who has a proven record when it comes to leaking things from Sega and Atlus. And this is basically in a reply that Midori got tagged in from someone saying something about the next Jet Set Radio game and what it would be like. And I'm not going to read through this entire post, but down near the bottom, Midori says, a remake of the original Jet Set Radio will also be released in 2026. And then someone here asks if it's going to be for Switch 2, and basically replies, yeah, this is correct information. But then it's the next part that caught a lot of people's attention. And here Midori says, every Atlus and Sega remake is also releasing on Switch 2. Now, if you remember back in December, Sega released this trailer of New Era, New Energy, in which they announced a whole bunch of games they're bringing back, like Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi, and then more to come. So to me, what it sounds like Midori is saying here is that those games will be coming to the Switch 2 and not the current Switch. Now Midori does go on to say here, Sega will continue to release some remake titles on the Switch if it is possible, but this may change depending on the sales of the next Nintendo hardware. So it sounds like some smaller, just remakes of current games may come to the current Switch, but some of the bigger projects might be held out for Switch 2. And to sort of go along with that, you have the tweet here where Midori says, Crazy Taxi is also receiving a full remake for modern platforms, including the next Nintendo hardware. Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio are being remade in Unreal Engine. So definitely a lot of information here to take in, and obviously things can change, plans can change. So even if this is Sega's plan right now, things could change down the road if maybe Nintendo's next hardware is a big flop, which I don't think it will be, but it's hard to know. But let me know what you think about all of this. Does it make the most sense that the remakes of these big Sega titles will just hold out for a Switch 2? And when it comes to the Switch 2's hardware, what do you think that additional button below home might be used for? As well as, do you believe the Joy-Cons will use magnetism, or as they call it here, magnetic suction, in order to connect to the console? Drop your comments below and let me know your thoughts. And if you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching and be good.